All right, got our fancy video set up here. So, first thing I want to know is we'll talk briefly about how we met. You can tell the story.
Yeah, so Nate and I met in an elevator in Blazer Hall at UAB. I had just finished running outside, so I was very hot and sweaty, and it was pretty obvious. And I walk into the elevator, and Nate is wearing a wife beater and a baby blue gym short combo with a flat bill and some white Air Force Ones. And he's like, "You like to run?" And I was like, "Yep," as my sweaty self would say. And I thought Nate was trying to be some kind of rapper with his get up, and so that was how we met.
Yep. Why did you choose physical therapy? Like, what motivated you to choose that career?
So I think, as you know, both kind of have a love for exercise and people. So I think, the combination of being able to work closely with people and help them live active, healthy lifestyles, but then also putting my love of anatomy and physiology together. And then obviously the average healthcare practitioner does not get to spend a lot of time with folks, and I really enjoyed that PT got to spend an hour with people.
Yep. So what... I want to talk about both the fitness industry and the physical therapy industry, and I think you can speak to both. So, tell me something that you think the fitness industry, and we can make generalizations here. What do you think the fitness industry gets wrong? What's the number one thing? If you could change one thing about the fitness industry, what would it be?
Man, where do you start?
I know.
We're going to say the same thing about PT world.
Sure.
Too. Yeah, I think... way too much confusion and way too much trying to find the next gimmicky thing. Unfortunately, the answer for true life change and good outcomes is boring stuff.
Yeah.
It is get strong and do it day in and day out.
Yeah.
And, that's why I admire Steel Strength so much. Is it is no bull crap. It's not any of the, okay, we're going to do this new exercise where you hang from a bungee and jump up and down, or we're going to crank up the air conditioning and make you do yoga in a 100-degree room. It's... No, this is what actually works. Get strong, slow and steady, day in, day out.
Yeah. And so, I guess, what would you, piggybacking off of that, or even, if you, piggybacking off that, or if you were talking with and I'm sure you have these conversations with a client that, they just finished up therapy with you and you're releasing them, and hopefully they're starting an exercise program. Let's say that they are. What's your biggest piece of advice to them as they're going into that next stage? They've just finished therapy. They're starting the fitness program. What would you tell them?
Yeah. So if they're not 100% confident on their own, I'm like, go pay someone who can watch you and make sure that you're doing this correctly. And they're like, well, personal training is pretty expensive. And I'm like, well, which is more expensive, that or the hospital bill to come back and see me in PT. So I think that's big. If they're not confident, but otherwise. I think rep qualities really, the two biggest things is exercise selection. Choose exercises that are right for you. If, this exercise does not feel good, either modify or fix the impairment. And then number two is no schlocky reps. Quit bouncing off your connective tissue and load control the rep.
Okay. I like it. So now let's pick on the PT industry. The physical therapy industry, what would you say is the one thing about the industry as a whole that if you could fix that you would?
Yellow TheraBand.
Okay. Tell us more.
So that's kind of the euphemistic way of saying it. And for those who are not familiar with physical therapy, yellow TheraBand is typically the lightest resistance possible. And sometimes we're dealing with people in pain, right? So they really can't do a whole lot. But I can't tell you the last time I used yellow TheraBand. I think, and I was talking to a student who was shadowing me this morning. That's the big issue, at least that I have with, the profession of physical therapy is, in general, underdosing and underloading the tissue, which in turn underserves our patients. Because, you send them back out to the world where they encounter resistance that is a 40-pound bag of dog food. And it's not, a 2-pound little dumbbell that's pink. Nothing against pink, but they just all happen to be that. So underdosing and underserving our patients.
Well, and that's something that I've told this to Sean Hiller, I've told this to you and a couple other people that I think from the outside looking in, so Justin and I were in physical therapy school together. I quit and then you stuck with it. I quit to run the gym full time, and you're a physical therapist. And so one of the things that I think that I really realized is just my observation as a generalization is that you take your average PT who doesn't have a strength training background, and I feel like they're so good at diagnosing like movement dysfunction. That's so good. And like trainers don't like a lot of trainers. You take your average trainer, they don't know. They're clueless about like they're just they can get people strong, but they're just like they don't know what they're looking for as far as movement, which can be really problematic. But I feel like for PTs, it's like okay, they're great at diagnosing movement dysfunction, but it's like I think part of a good therapy program, I think you would agree, is like you got to get people stronger. And so I think if you don't have a background in strength training, like that's a problem. But that's something that you do really well, and I think that's why you're such a good physical therapist, because like you understand the movement dysfunction and like you're really good at that, but you also know how to get people stronger. And I feel like you got to have both. And so like you're the kind of physical therapist that I would want to be. I don't think, had I continued, I don't think I would be as good as you are, which is why I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing. But that was something that I really observed. So I want to hear from, so I'm just curious, like what is something, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, like in regards to your training, because I know we talked a lot about training in college, like tell me like one way that, well, here, I'm going to tell you first and then I'll ask you. But I'm going to tell you a way that you and the way you talked about training and the way you approach your training has influenced the way that I think about it. And then I want you to do the same for me. Like tell me a way that I've influenced you in that way. But I think for one, I'm a glutton for punishment. I love intensity. It's like I'm like all or none, which is like good and bad. And so I think the ugly of that is that like I train really like super, super hard in college. And then I feel like there's a lot of I beat myself up and like neglected other parts of training. And I think something that's been really cool about watching you train is it's the tortoise and the hare. Like you have just been slow and steady, but you just continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And like you surpassed my strength a long time ago, but it's like crazy because you just keep getting stronger. And I think it's because of just that consistent, repetitive, like you were saying, just that boring, showing up, doing the same stuff, like focus on the basics. Anyway, so that's been really influential for me, but I'm curious if there's anything that I've done or said or whatever back in the good old days that influenced the way you think about training.
Yeah, truly. And thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Kind, and certainly the progress is slow and steady, and as long as it's steady.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't stopped, man. It just keeps going.
Hopefully the ceiling's the limit.
Yeah.
Not peaked yet.
That's right.
I think whenever Nate and I first met, we bonded over. I ran cross country and played soccer, and Nate ran track, and I ran a little bit of track. And if you looked at pictures of Nate and I in high school, we were string beans. The both of us, maybe 140 pounds each or so. Yeah. And Nate's a little taller than I am, so he probably
I get the skinny award.
he got the visible abs out of his leanness. I was whatever, but kind of had that classic skinny guy mentality of if I lift weights I'm gonna get bulky. And freshman year, when I was kind of really ingrained in that mindset, and you were really chasing the strength gains. Yeah. I saw that unless you were eating like a monster and really trying to gain weight, you're not going to gain weight. Yeah. And you didn't get slow, and I was afraid of getting bulky and slow. And you really shattered that, I call it a misconception now because it's truly a huge misconception. Yeah. And, I've been lifting now really intensely, probably since then, which is about 10 years. Yeah. And I still, for those who are looking at this on video, not hyper bulky, just larger muscle size and a lot more strength. Yep. But you still look like you. Like you're definitely a lot more muscular, certainly a lot more muscular than when we met. But like you're it's not like, you don't look unhuman or whatever. Though, like, had you asked me back then, bodybuilding goals, like if bodybuilding is your goal, you can gain a lot of muscle tissue in a relatively short amount of time. Sure. Bodybuilding was never the goal. It was to get stronger and age well. And
100%. 20-year-old Nate wishes that I could have gotten super bulky and slow. But I mean, to that point, like I ate and trained with the intention of getting as big as I possibly could, and like, I mean, looking back, like I think I wish I had not rushed things as much because looking back, it's like, man, I made a lot of really good progress, but I just had crazy expectations. Okay.
Yeah, that's back when you were subscribing to the, what is it? Don't run if you can walk.
That's
don't
right.
walk if you can sit. Don't sit if you can lay down.
That's right. Yes. Lots of rest. Very good. Well, we'll bring you on for a longer podcast. Was there anything that, maybe specifically even to the Steel clients or the Steel listeners, like anything you want to leave them with? Any advice?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, what they refer to as the aging process is actually the stop taking care of yourself process. So strength training is for life and truly is the fountain of youth. So don't quit taking care of yourself.
That's good. Love it. Appreciate it.
Peace.